On Thursday, a grand jury voted to indict him over a hush money payments to a porn star while he was running for the White House in 2016. The indictment remains under seal, and the extent of the charges he will face as it relates to the campaign finance violations and others remains unknown. For more on this now, let's get the latest from our correspondent Nick Harper, who is outside Mar-a-Lago in Florida for us. Nick, thank you so much for your time. We're seeing reports suggesting that he won't be in handcuffs, but might have to pose for a mugshot. What do we know?
Yeah, lots of details coming out from his legal team about exactly how he wants this appearance to go and how they intend to fight it. We're being told that Donald Trump will be hunkering down in Mar-a-Lago, his residence just behind me, throughout the course of this weekend, really strategizing with lawyers, deciding how best to go about this. And then we are expecting him to leave his residence, perhaps as early as Monday afternoon, to travel to New York to spend the night at Trump Tower before appearing in court on Tuesday afternoon, in Manhattan. As you mentioned, he does not want to appear in handcuffs, but he will have a mugshot and his fingerprints taken. We're also told that when he appears before a judge, he intends to plead not guilty. He doesn't want to take a plea deal. He intends to take this to trial, and we're told that he will aggressively fight the charges. Also, the legality of them, because Donald Trump and his lawyers quite simply say that this is an unwarranted, politicized attack against him, led by the Democrats, who quite simply do not want to see him in the White House again, and therefore are going to all lengths, they say, to make sure that that doesn't happen. After that arraignment in the New York court, he will be free to go. He'll be allowed to return, most likely here to Mar-a-Lago, and then it could potentially be months before this case comes to trial. There'll be lots to do for his lawyers, for the prosecutors, to get the paperwork together, to get all of their affairs in order before they're ready to face a jury in a New York courtroom.
And Nick, I wonder, if there are any real security concerns, given what we saw happen, during that now known as the insurrection. And we're seeing some of his staunch supporters also supporting his stance that this is some kind of a political witch hunt. So how likely are we, to see security being escalated at that court appearance?
Well, it's certainly a huge concern. The New York Police Department, the NYPD, the Secret Service, the FBI, they are all involved in making sure that there is a security perimeter around that courthouse in downtown Manhattan. All leave has been cancelled for NYPD officers. They're having to work through the weekend and make sure that they are on duty at the beginning of next week. We're told that there is considerable concern, but at this stage, no known credible threats that the security services are telling us about. Donald Trump, you may remember, said a week and a half ago that he was about to be arrested, and he encouraged his supporters to come out and protest. We've already seen some lawmakers saying that they will go to New York on Tuesday to protest his arraignment. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a very right-wing Republican, says that she will be heading to New York to be involved in that. Here in Mar-a-Lago in Florida, we've certainly seen his supporters out for the last few days and nights. Some of them have been gathering during the course of the morning. It's still early here in Florida, but we are expecting more throughout the course of the day. All of them telling us that they intend to back Donald Trump to the hilt. They feel that this is an unwarranted attack by the Democrats. They feel that he should not be facing charges and that he is an innocent man. They intend to carry out those protests, which here have been peaceful, but of course there is that concern as to whether we could see some sort of flare out, whether it's in New York or some other city across the country, from supporters who turn perhaps those peaceful protests like we saw on January the 6th into something much more violent.
Has he been spotted?
Donald Trump, he came out to speak to some of his supporters the other night, really just a wave from the gates of his property. So probably about 30, 40 meters behind me, he came out of those gates, waved to supporters who had lined up across the road. No sighting of him yet today. Me and my cameraman have driven around this area. We haven't seen him out and about. The likelihood is that he will be in there strategizing with lawyers. Some reports also suggesting that all public functions, events that were due to take place in the Mar-a-Lago property during the course of the weekend have been cancelled. The thinking is that Donald Trump instead just wants to focus on business, but also some reports suggesting that he intends to mix that business with pleasure, that he intends to get out for a few rounds of golf and plans to have dinner with friends during the course of the weekend. So he's there, we're waiting for a sighting. The supporters here undoubtedly would like to see a sighting of the former president at some point during the course of this weekend.
Oh, quite interesting. And Nick, as a final question then, when you read different schools of thought about what all of this means for him and what are the implications, there are others that seem to think that he can still run for the presidency again. There are others who say that this is the end. So what does this indictment then, in that particular context, then mean for him? Because as you say, he's going to fight it till the end. But does it mean he can run again or not?
Yeah, it's fascinating. There is nothing in the US Constitution that says that having criminal charges against him or having a conviction, if we go to trial and he is convicted, none of those would prevent him from running again as president. And there is some thinking that potentially all of this publicity that he is now getting as a result of the indictment could stir up his base to come out and support him even more strongly. That ironically it won't hurt him, but perhaps rather help him. We have seen his fundraising machine really go into top gear in the course of the last few days. The Trump team saying that they raised $4 million in the space of just 24 hours as a result of the indictment. The direct result of that drove his supporters to fundraise for him, to put money into that war chest for 2024. But do bear in mind that this is just one of multiple investigations that are going on in the background at the moment. There's another one in the state of Georgia that's looking into whether he tried to overturn the election result there after the 2020 election. There's another looking into the classified documents that were found in Mar-a-Lago last summer after the FBI raid. There's another looking into his role to do with the January 6th insurrection at the US Capitol 2 years ago. So many things going on in the background, many pending investigations, inquiries. All of those could also lead to separate criminal charges. So we've had this first indictment in this case, but we could see more to come, which in turn could lead to more criminal charges and more court cases for the former president.
Definitely fascinating developments there, and it's likely to be quite a busy day in court, both inside and outside. Thank you so much for that update, Nick. Do appreciate it. That is Nick Harper, correspondent just in Mar-a-Lago in Florida, of course, ahead of that appearance by former US President Donald Trump in court.